Welcome to this explainer. It probably hit you during one of those super quiet moments. Maybe you were up at 2 a.m. in the dark, rocking a newborn, or maybe you were just sitting across from a lawyer, signing those massive, heavy mortgage papers. And suddenly, bam, the sheer weight of that number just lands right in your chest. Whatever that exact moment looked like for you, I'm betting a single, really heavy question popped into your head. Are we actually protected? And hey, if you didn't have a clear, confident answer right then and there, please know you're absolutely not alone. That unspoken question, it's basically the core of financial anxiety for so many young Canadian families who are just trying to build a life. So today, we're going to turn that stress into a really logical 6-layer checklist. We'll quickly cover the unspoken question, the short versus long life debate, your cash foundation, the core insurance layers, and finally, adapting to life changes. Let's just dive right in. Section 1. The unspoken family question. All right, we really need to confront reality here for a second. According to a 2024 study by PolicyMe, a staggering 42% of Canadians either don't have life insurance or, get this, they aren't even sure if they do. I mean, think about that. Almost half the country is walking around with a massive blind spot when it comes to their family safety net. They're just kind of hoping for the best, but literally completely unprepared for the worst. To put a real human number on that, that's 8.4 million Canadian adults living right now with a critical coverage gap. And the fallout from that is pretty stark. Look at the data from LIMRA. 4 out of 10 families would face severe financial hardship within just 6 months if their primary earner passed away. That is exactly why we're mapping this out today, to make absolutely sure you aren't part of that statistic. Moving on to Section 2, short life versus long life. So there's a total paradigm shift we need to talk about here. On one side, we have the question, what if life is short? Meaning, what actually happens to the people who depend on you if you pass away too soon, right? Like before the mortgage is paid off, before the kids are grown, your income vanishes overnight. Your debts, unfortunately, do not die with you, and surviving spouses suddenly face astronomical childcare costs on just one income. It's terrifying. But on the flip side, we have an equally critical question. What if life is long? What if you live for decades but you get hit with a major illness or a disability? The Canadian Life and Health Insurance Association estimates that 1 in 3 Canadians will face a disability lasting longer than 90 days during their working years. You're actually way more likely to be disabled than to die early. Which brings us to Section 3, the Protection Plan Foundation. Now, what's really fascinating about this is that Layer 1 isn't even an insurance product. It's your emergency fund. Seriously, before you buy any policy, you absolutely need 3 to 6 months of liquid cash to handle exactly what traditional insurance drops the ball on. Think about insurance deductibles, right? You have to pay those out of pocket before your coverage even starts. Or what about a disability waiting period? It can easily take 90 to 120 days before your benefits actually start paying out. How are you going to buy groceries for 3 months? And what about a sudden job loss? Employment insurance covers what, maybe 55% of your lost income? Without this cash foundation for sudden home repairs or those annoying out-of-pocket medical costs that provincial healthcare doesn't cover, even a super well-insured family is just one bad Tuesday away from plunging into debt. All right, Section 4, the core insurance layers. So, Layer 2 is term life insurance. This one directly answers that short life question we talked about. It's simple, it's highly affordable, and it is literally built specifically for when your young family is at its most financially vulnerable. If the absolute worst happens, this policy instantly steps in to replace your income and cover those massive debts right when your family needs it the most. It's really not about getting rich. It's the ultimate safety net to make sure your family can stay in their home and keep putting food on the table. Then we hit Layer 3, which is disability insurance. This tackles the long life scenario. And honestly, for most working Canadians, this is actually a far more critical piece of the puzzle than life insurance, because it protects your most valuable asset, your ability to earn an income. If an illness or injury stops you from working, you need this. The real trick here is looking for an own occupation clause. That means you get paid if you can't do your specific job, not just, any job out there. A lot of people think, oh, my group benefits at work are fine, but those usually only cover about 60 to 70% of your income. They often have super restrictive definitions, and worst of all, the second you switch jobs, poof, they completely vanish. Moving to Layer 4, health and critical illness coverage. Again, tackling the risks of a long life. Look, we all love our provincial health care here, but it has some pretty serious gaps. Dental work, vision care, specialized prescriptions, physio, those are largely out-of-pocket expenses. This layer steps up to fill those gaps. On top of that,
Critical illness insurance is designed to just hand you a tax-free lump sum if you get a major diagnosis, like cancer, a heart attack, or a stroke. It essentially gives you the financial breathing room to focus entirely on getting better rather than lying in bed stressing about bankruptcy.
Next up is Layer 5, Home and Property. This protects your physical structure, your stuff, and your personal liability. So this addresses the short life risks of sudden, catastrophic events. And hey, this isn't just for homeowners. One of the most frequently overlooked things out there is tenant insurance. If you're a renter and you're thinking, well, I don't own the building, I don't need it, consider this. It usually starts at under $20 a month, and it provides a massive amount of protection for everything you own inside those walls, plus liability, if someone, say, trips and gets hurt in your apartment.
Okay, Section 5. Adapting to life changes.
Okay, so let's say you've built this beautiful safety net. Great. But it is definitely not a set it and forget it kind of thing. And that brings us to Layer 6, life stage coverage. Getting married, having a baby, buying a new home, changing jobs, turning 40, every single major life milestone fundamentally changes what you need. Had a baby? You need to bump up your life insurance. Bought a house? Time for mortgage protection. Switched careers? You better check if your new group benefits leave any gaping holes. If you skip these regular check-ins, your protection plan basically just becomes a snapshot of the life you used to have, not the complex and probably much more expensive one you're actually living right now.
Now, I know exactly what you're probably thinking right now. You're sitting there like, okay, this sounds incredible, but it must be insanely expensive. Well, the reality is, comprehensive coverage usually costs just 5 to 10% of your household income. Most families are completely blown away by how affordable a complete strategy actually is when it's built correctly. In fact, studies show most Canadians overestimate the true cost of insurance by 3 times the actual amount. Crazy, right?
But here's the thing, you really cannot afford to wait. 8%. That is roughly how much life insurance premiums increase for every single year you delay getting covered. The math is just relentless. Your insurability can change literally overnight with a simple change in your health, and, well, Father Time spares absolutely no one. Waiting to build this net doesn't save you money. It just dramatically increases your costs and your risks down the road.
Which brings us to our final and easily the most important question for you today. Do you actually know your protection gaps? Look, it takes less than 5 minutes to sit down, run through these 6 layers we just talked about, and honestly figure out exactly where you stand today. As the old saying goes, the absolute best time to build this financial foundation was 5 years ago, but the second best time, that's right now. So looking at your own life and the people who depend on you every single day, what's really stopping you from closing your gaps today?